I really can't see.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the special board meeting on Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021. The meeting is called to order at 8:02 p.m. Nee, would you please read the meeting notice announcement?
Yep. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Sparta Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be advertised by having the date, time, and place thereof posted at the Sparta Board of Education office, 18 Mohawk Avenue, as designated by the Board of Education for posting of such notice in a public place. Written notice was emailed on May 26, 2021 to the Daily Record, the New Jersey Herald, tapintosparta.net, and to the Township Clerk specifying the date, time, and place of this meeting.
Go ahead, Mr. Sittimer, would you please do the roll call this evening?
Certainly. Ms. Bragg.
Here.
Mr. Morris.
Here.
Dr. Zwicky.
Present.
Ms. Crano.
Here.
Dr. Serrano.
Here.
Mr. McGovern. Ms. Sorensen.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Please join me in saying the pledge. Please join me in saying the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Permanent hang. Motion.
Okay, we're going to skip closed session. Moving on, before we do public comment, we do have a brief superintendent's report. Mr. Beck?
Yes, I would just like to go over the, can you hear me? I'd like to go over the principal selection process that we used to select the recommended candidate for this evening. The selection process consisted of 3 rounds of interviews. The first round of interviews was done by a committee. That committee consisted of our secondary content supervisors, our athletic director, 2 principals, a parent from the high school, a teacher from the high school, Patrick, and myself. The questions in that round were selected by the committee, and the candidates' responses were scored by each committee member in accordance with a rubric. Round 2 was also performed by a committee. That committee was 3 directors from our director team and myself. Those candidates' responses were also scored by the committee members according to a rubric. From there, 3 finalists were selected, 3 very qualified finalists were selected, and those 3 finalists were interviewed by Patrick McQueenie and myself. Of those 3 finalists, Dr. Lazaro was selected as the recommended candidate for the Board of Education. He comes to Sparta with many years of principal and vice principal experience, and he also has experience as an athletic director and a supervisor of special services. And very excited to recommend Dr. Lazaro to the board, and am confident that he will do great things for Sparta School District.
Thank you. Do we have any members of the public who would like to speak this evening? Okay, moving on. Rachel, do we have anybody on the phone? Okay, we have no one on the phone. And we do have 3 emails from the public. Mr. Zittimer, would you please read?
The first email is from Dr. Bruce Murphy. It says, "Congratulations to Dr. Edward Lazara, centenary alum, on this achievement. Regards, Dr. Bruce Murphy." Second email is from Jennifer Grana. "Good evening. Thank you for reading my email. I'm sorry I could not be there in person, but first of all, I just wanted to welcome Mr. Beck to the school district and wish him the best of luck. Second, I just had some questions about the timeline as far as hiring the new Sparta High School principal. According to the personnel minutes from April 20th, 2021, the committee supports holding the process for hiring administrative positions until the new superintendent is in place. It was my understanding that Mr. Beck's first day was yesterday, June 1st. So based on this information, did this plan change since April 20th, 2021, or was this decision based on a decision made yesterday?" That's the first question. The second question is, when did the interviews begin for Sparta High School principal position? Who conducted them? Was Mr. Beck or Mr. McQueenie a part of those interviews, or is this recommendation coming from both? Final question, what is the need for a special meeting to hire this position, and why couldn't it wait until the regularly scheduled meeting on June 24th? Thank you for your time. Sincerely, Jennifer Grana.
Thank you, Mr. Zittimer. I'll just jump in here and answer. The Personnel Committee unanimously supported starting the process in advance of June 1st under Mr. McQueenie's supervision. The Personnel Committee at the time consisted of Kurt Morris, Kate Madison, and myself. The second bullet point was answered by Mr. Beck. The third bullet, the reason for the meeting this evening, special meeting this evening, is most administrators have a 60-day clause in their contract where they have to give their current district 60 days notice before they can leave. We wanted to have whoever the candidate was, whoever your recommendation was, to be able to start in our district as soon as possible. If we waited until June 24th to approve your recommendation, Mr. Beck, that person would not be able to start until August 24th. By having this special meeting this evening, and I thank my colleagues for turning out tonight to vote on this matter, we are able to expedite the process by about 3 weeks and have the candidate start beginning of August, if not earlier. So that's the answer to that. Thank you.
The final comment is from Lauren Rossi. "Hello, Sparta BOE. I will not be able to make the meeting tonight, so I'm just touching base as we seem to have had a lot of leadership changes in the past year. I understand that the public was surveyed for the district superintendent position, but did we ever receive the survey results? If so, did the survey results match or come close to matching the qualifications of the person who was selected? What selection process did we apply to this high school principal candidate? What is our vetting process? Are other district leaders involved in the selection process? Does each committee selecting the candidate receive a score? That score total selects the candidate, or is the board ultimately deciding the candidate of their choice? I'm a bit concerned to see the constant changeover and resignations in leadership over the past year. I hope we're mindful that strong leadership involves listening, transparency, and a clear and fair vetting process. We need to build trust in our relationships between the board, school leadership, our school district staff, and the public. Thank you for your service. Sincerely, Lauren Rossi."
Thank you, Mr. Zittimer. To Mrs. Rossi, I would just say that the survey results were used to inform the board's decision on the superintendent search, as well as a number of other factors. There were many factors that went into our decision, and we do have the utmost faith in Mr. Beck that he can fulfill his role very well. Okay, that is it for public comment, closing public comment. Moving on to personnel policy. I'm looking for a motion for item 5.2.
Motion.
Thank you, Kurt. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Rob. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Bragg,
Yes.
Mr. Morris,
Yes.
Dr. Zawicki,
Yes.
Ms. Grano,
Yes.
Dr. Serrano,
Yes.
Mr. McGovern, absent, Ms. Sorensen.
Yes.
Motion carries. Congratulations, Dr. Lazara. Welcome. Before we adjourn, I just want to bring up one item in public, and discuss with my colleagues. I have discussed with Mr. Zittimer all of the different ways we have allowed the public to participate during the pandemic. And one area is that we have allowed people to, we have a dedicated phone line. And so it is the recommendation, you and I talked about this. Does the board support us getting rid of the phone line since people haven't been using it?
Yes.
Everybody okay with that? Krista? Okay, so we don't need a motion to do that, do we?
No, as long as the board is on the same page with that, we really technically do not need a formal motion. If we wanted to codify a motion to make it formal, we could do a simple all in favor, Ms. Bragg, and do a simple motion.
Okay, all in favor?
So the motion would be to eliminate the phone line call-in at the meeting. Need a second.
Right, to eliminate, hold on, to eliminate the phone line to call in for public meetings? Okay, so I'm going to make that motion to eliminate the phone line for call-in during our public meetings. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Kurt. Discussion? Roll call, please. Or, I'm sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, moving on to 6.1, motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Thank you, Kurt. Second? Second?
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? And all in favor?
Yes, aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.